That is the official wake-up sound. It's so nice, though. I drive into the studio this morning, and it's light the whole way. I mean, I didn't even need my headlights on for much of the trip, which is terrific, you know? It means it's getting beautiful and light early. It means summer is officially around the corner. October is the most beautiful month of the year. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying. I'm not, this is not like loose motivation. I could care less about motivating you. What it is my happiness and my joy around spring.
You really hate winter.
No, you know what? It's more that I love spring. It's like I can push through winter. By August, I'm sick to death of it, but I can make it through. And there are some things about it that make it okay. But spring, do I love it?
I like the tail end of spring, like November, birthday month, because now I have the sinuses. So all of this.
Your parents had you at the right time. Yeah. So you don't like the beginning of spring because it makes you sneeze and cough.
This hay fever and like just a stuffed nose. But the minute October hits, I know that's going to end very quickly.
I don't mind. I mean, you see the all the crap on my car. Like I parked my car under this tree, and there's just like this green shit all over it because this tree is like basically shedding, and it's nice. I don't mind it at all. So it's Tuesday, which means we get our special surprise guest in this morning, and who knows? Who could it be? I mean, like nobody knows, right? And that's going to be happening in the next couple of minutes. We've also got Africanalysis this morning. A couple of stories from the rest of the continent. We'll check out some news. I've got some nice coffee here, so I'm ready to go. I'm ready for today.
Yeah, you see now what parallel parking is saying about the Karoo. This is why I left, guys.
What does he say? 36 degrees here in the Karoo today, so we skipped right past spring and jumped straight into
This is why I left, guys. I saw that.
Well,
it's trash.
Yeah, but listen, you choose to live there. It's parallel parking, and it has its benefits.
Biltong, right?
There are plenty of benefits, plenty of reasons why you would want to live in a place like the Karoo, but it's not for everybody. Okay, let us welcome to the studio our special guest. Dun, 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 dun. Who we got here? Oh no, it's Mark Sham.
It's a sham.
Hello, Mark Sham. Sit down, dude. How are you?
I'm so good.
Now first of all, welcome to the studio. It's very nice to see you. Everybody who doesn't know Mark Sham has been on the scene. He and I did. You invited me to the first Suits and Sneakers thing that you did, right?
Yeah,
it's right in the beginning.
23 July 2015.
Really?
It's etched into my brain. Yeah.
My God, it's so long ago.
I know.
Wow, that's quite something, huh? And you're still going. You're still at it. You're doing all sorts of travel stuff at the moment. I see. Looking good, dude. It's all coming together beautifully. You having fun?
Yeah, COVID threw things around a little bit. I'm not alone.
No, you had a bit of a temper tantrum or three on social media. I watched you during COVID. You were as angry as me.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing when you get told that you're not allowed to do what you do for a living, but we won't help you.
Yeah.
So like we'll just tie both hands behind your back. But needless to say,
them's fighting words.
Yeah.
But you had every right to get upset. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have been upset. What I like about you, and it's a double-edged sword. You say a lot of the things that you feel online. You share a lot about your life online. And what that does is it means people feel, okay, this guy is being real. We can trust him. He's a good guy. He's honest. He's an authentic human being. But the downside is they have an opinion on everything to do with your life. And you can't then like moan when they say to you, oh, I didn't like this thing you did. You can't be like, oh, well, screw you, because I now own a piece of you because you shared everything. You know what I mean, right?
But you can't. I think this is so interesting. It brings into a topic like just because someone feels offended doesn't mean I have to give a shit about what they think. But the same applies to me.
Yeah.
I really couldn't give a shit what people think anymore. It's taken time. And so what happens is, of course, my life is public. I've chosen to put it out there.
Sure.
And every now and then when someone jabs at me, I have to ask myself, why did that one hurt?
What kind of people do that to you? What sort of comments do people throw at you that are probably uncalled for, unnecessary, and stupid, and irritate you? Because, I mean, you're a lot like me. You're mostly a positive, happy, calm guy. But then occasionally someone will piss you off and then you'll lash out and everyone will go, oh, well, he's got a mean streak in him.
Yeah.
But what is
Although there's a very specific reason why every now and then I properly stand my ground.
Okay, what
it's
is
not
that?
actually because of that person specifically. It's kind of a signal to everybody else that here's my boundary, don't push it.
Good. And then you...
Right, so everybody's like, geez, dude, calm down. I'm like, no, I don't think you understand. He didn't get me so riled up. It's just letting other people know, like, that's where you stop.
So what sort of stuff pisses you off then when people overstep that line?
I think it's lessened over time, but when you are doing something with pure intention and someone comes and shits all over it, that really irritates. So let me give you an example. If I'm supporting a small business and I'm showcasing them and I've paid my way and someone's like, he's just probably doing this for the views. I'm like, no, I'm actually really trying to help that small business. And now you're trying to like derail the very thing I'm trying to do. So it's not even about me. I'm trying to help them. And you're making it sound like, oh, it's just for the views. It's just for the... No, I'll be honest with you and always tell you if I've paid for something or if I got something for free.
But even if it was just for the views are equally helping the small business in question.
I
so
agree with
what
you.
the hell's wrong with people?
It's like they're trying to derail the thing that you're trying to set up. So that gets me. I mean, these days you could tell me that my mother can suck an apple through a tennis racket. I couldn't care. I don't care.
She can? You're a talented woman.
Let me tell you.
Tell us more about
my mom. All my friends love her. But I don't think there's much that someone can say to me anymore that would really get me irritated or upset. I think the only thing that would hurt my feelings is if someone really close to me could potentially do that. You know what I mean?
Well, hopefully they'd have the decency to be mean to you in their private time and not on the internet. Because you see, I also think like the biggest problem we have with all of this internet stuff, and listen, there are going to be people who are listening to this now going, oh, they're on this thing again. Because it comes up a lot. And you got to remember, it's a novel experience for all of humanity.
Yes.
For you to suddenly be exposed to an audience. I mean, this is something I was aware of 20 years ago when I was in radio and TV. But the majority of people on this planet had no idea what it was like for everyone to be involved in your life and your business. For you to have a network of suddenly thousands of people. I mean, what's the Dunbar's number? It's like 120, right?
Yes.
So Dunbar's number is this number, the maximum number of meaningful connections you can have at any given time. You have more than that, it's not feasible.
Yeah.
We are not like the biggest number of our ancestor apes that could get in a room, if there were rooms in those days, and like, with each other was like 120.
Yeah.
Beyond 120, you forget the names. You don't know which one fits in where. I mean, listen, I know some people who don't remember the names of their own kids. So, and that's because they've got like 5 or 6. And so we've got this very weird situation in society now where people are, everybody is a media personality. Everybody is suddenly a brand. I hate this terminology, but you know, I love when you meet someone and they got like 25 followers on Instagram and they're like, well, I'm doing this for my brand. And you're like, what brand, Chloe? You've got like your friends and your immediate relatives who follow you on Instagram, and you don't have to worry about your brand, honey. No one's out there busy thinking, now, how can we ally with her brand?
But you got to give it to them for having a go.
Oh,
I sometimes just smile.
They get their courage from the Kardashians and other non-talented people who've done extremely well because their non-talent has made other non-talented people feel special.
Yeah.
Like, well, if I just have a big ass and if I'm really stupid and I have terrible vocal fry and I have 0 between my ears, I could still be important to total strangers, and that would help that big hole in my heart where I just can't get enough love.
But I'm going to pull you back there because the point that you were making there, I think, is sound, which is that it's not just about you or I or other people who have followings. It's that for the first time in history, people have these microphones, and so this is relevant to everyone.
And it's great. Listen,
and the second you put something online, people are going to have a go.
Believe me. I got that out of my system a long time ago. So I'm very happy for everybody who wants attention to be getting it.
Yes.
And I think that there are a lot of people who are very good at getting it and some people who are terrible at it. And I don't mind because I'm not even interacting that much on social media anymore. But I don't find it attractive.
Yeah.
I don't find it attractive in women. And I don't find it attractive in friends of mine. When you can see they're just cloying for invisible likes and loves and please approve of me because my dad didn't when I was 8 and it break my heart. And, And my ex who broke up, I'm trying to get back at him because, he broke up with me and went with another woman. And like, I don't want to get involved in any of that.
But can I make a statement
off.
and ask you a question?
Yeah.
I've been thinking about this for a while. So 2006 to 2008 in my life was like a golden patch of me living in the south of Johannesburg and driving to Rosebank every morning.
First of all, living. I mean, being in the south of Joburg and actually being alive.
Yes. Yes, which I mean has been touch and go for a while.
I love it.
And I had to, every morning I had to do this drive, which I hated.
Yeah.
And so I would listen to Gareth Cliff on 5FM. And there were mornings where you and your team were so funny.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun.
I cackled my head off. And there were mornings that I wanted to murder you. And so you had this polarizing effect when I was
You're from the south.
young.
I should have been scared that you would murder me.
But then what I realized as I got older and then I got into public speaking by sheer accident is that what you did so well is that regardless of the morning, you made people feel something. But so that's the statement. The question is, I want to understand what it was like for 2 minutes when you were so young and you had access to this audience, because I'm almost 40 and I'm finally come to terms with it. Speaking, big social media following, also initially wanting that following for the wrong reasons when I was younger, but now kind of figuring it out. But you had it so young. So this is so interesting. Like you at the heart of it every morning, all these people listen to you.
What did it feel like? Is that what you're asking me?
How did you handle it? How did you handle the notoriety? Because in that patch, you were there was no one who was more golden child than Gareth.
No, I mean, listen, as you say, it's very bipolar, right? So you had people who thought it was terrific and were having as much fun as we were having, and we were genuinely having fun. It wasn't like we had to try. Nice team, always had stuff to talk about. we didn't take anything seriously.
No.
The meta project was like South Africa was in a good place. People were trying to get along. We were all trying to carve out our little piece of the future, and it was an optimistic, good time to be around. And we were part of that flow, part of that feeling. So, and being in this country and making a difference in this country was something that everybody felt they had a little bit of a part of, right? So that was the big story. The little story is I'm not made like a lot of people. And that has, and I'm not trying to say I'm special, but I might be special like someone who's like needs special needs, right? But I don't actually respond very well to belonging. You'll know this.
Yeah.
How many times you invited me to things and I'm very polite about it and I'm like, no, thanks. Once I'm there, I'm fine. I love it.
Yes.
But even with the first Suits and Sneakers, I was like sitting backstage. It was in that church that we used to film Idols in. And I'm sitting back there. I'm like, why did I say yes to this? No offense to you.
No.
I mean, I thought
I know you well enough now.
This guy started a great business. He's getting people talking. He's bringing really interesting ideas out. And I could see like you had this vision for what you wanted to achieve. But I was annoyed that I had to be part of it for the first 5 minutes until I was on stage. And as soon as I'm on stage, I started to enjoy it. I was like, okay, this is cool. There's a nice crowd of people, shared some ideas, like some funny comments coming back at me. I took it with a sense of humor, and it wasn't such a big pain in the ass thing like I'd created in my head. But I don't really care if people like me or not. It's a weird thing. I don't like belonging. And then there's no other time in human history where I could have survived. Yeah. I would have been burnt as a witch. Yeah. I would have. No, I'm telling you, dude. They would have.
It's funny because it's true.
They would have strung. You know this, Buckavan. So they would have strung me up and put my head on a pike, Lord of the Flies style.
Exactly. You have a laboratory. You bring,
but it's still something that
whatnot.
I'm a recluse. I'm a recluse, but I'm also. With my friends, I'm very social.
But there are points where you have to go out and then all these people are effectively mobbing you. I remember then seeing you properly for the first time. There was the 2008 Durban July and there was a 5FM after party at the back. And because I was friends with Erica L, we somehow made our way to...
She was hot. She's still around?
No, she's in the US.
Yeah.
No, we made our way to the back.
Exporting the talent.
Is she still hot? You forgot the question there.
She's a lovely girl.
No,
I remember her.
She's wonderful inside and out.
Do you remember what?
So, no, I'm not saying do you remember. Then I got to the back and I felt like all these people were hovering. I'm just saying that like all that attention and notoriety is quite intense at a young age.
I never used to be reclusive. That's happened as a result of that stuff. So this woman came up to me at this awards thing I was at on Wednesday night last week. And she's very sweet, but she's like nervous. And she says, "Oh, can I have a picture?" Or whatever. So I go, "Yeah, sure." And I do the picture with her. And then like 20 minutes later, she comes and she's like, "Oh no, that picture wasn't good. Can we do another picture?" So I'm like, "Yeah, all right." So we do another picture. And then I think she must have been progressively drinking along the course of the evening, right? And then the third time she comes, and I'm like, "What are you entering a fucking competition?" Now that's not nice, you know? And I can't help that that's my automatic reaction.
Yes.
I'm not a horrible person. I'm really not. I don't go around spreading nastiness and maliciousness and all of this stuff. And I'm certainly not complaining about my life. I mean, the worst thing that happened to me was this poor girl asked for a third picture. God forbid I should like lose my temper. But I mean, my response is just, it comes straight out. I can't stop it. And I know there's some part of me that's meant to meter and filter and clean up these things before they come out. But I'm like, what are you, entering a fucking competition? And she's completely perplexed by this response. Because my response is really like, who needs all these pictures?
Yeah.
Who, you got a gallery at home? Like a photo wall?
What if she does?
And you got 3 now. In one
that.
night.
I just love that.
Same outfits. Same outfits.
It's great for me.
So,
I'm twisted like
so
that.
I hope whoever this person was, I hope when she got home, she didn't think, what a douchebag. Because I did meet someone else on Sunday. I went to this derby where they do the show jumping.
Yeah.
And this guy came up to me. And he's now a very, very successful businessman. He says at the time he wasn't. He's like selling helicopters and shit, right? So serious player. He's like, you were very, very rude to me once. I'm like, well,
how many times have you heard that?
No, it's not a lot. And I said to him,
did you deserve it?
If I was, I'm really sorry, because I don't know. I don't think about you and worry about how rude I was until you tell me. And then I think, well, that was unnecessary. It must have been a bad day. Maybe someone had pissed me off that morning. I don't know. We were all human. Things happen. I hope I wasn't extremely mean and unkind. He's like, "Oh, my mother was there. I introduced you to my mother, and you were very rude to her. Now she's dead, so you can't say sorry to her because she's dead, and she died thinking you were a piece of shit. So that's not nice. But it doesn't happen often. Okay. And the reason I'm even bringing it up is because clearly it does bother me. I don't want to be one of those people.
No.
But I think we all go, like in the comments.
But it's a case of volume. Jeez, if you get put out there enough, you're going to have a bad day.
But everybody puts up with this. I mean, sometimes you go to a family dinner. You know, anyone in the comments will know about this too. So you go to a family dinner and everybody's having a good time. But maybe you're worrying about money. You're worried about your health. You got an ass muscle that's paralyzed or something. You're not having the best day. And then you respond like that. And they're all like, "Whoa, he's a crabby old fuck." You know, that's not your standard behavior.
But that's all they exposed to in that moment.
Yeah,
like that mom died knowing Gareth Cliff was
she hated me to her dying day. This poor old woman.
Also, how much time does she have? Like, maybe you shortened her life, Gareth. Like, this should be an investigation.
What are we going to do? All right. So how are things going business-wise, and what are you up to?
Yeah, the short answer is that things are going really well. I think we've recovered well post-COVID.
Good.
One of the things I did was set up a hybrid eventing venue.
Yes, tell us about that, because that's a very clever idea, and it's working.
Yeah, it was born out of survival because we couldn't run events in person, and so the next answer was, I just tried to live stream my first webinar. It was rubbish. So we increased the quality just by getting 2 broadcast cameras. And before I knew it, we were in this big building in Woodmead. And so today what it does is it's a mix of hybrid eventing venue. So you can have 250 people seated in person, but we can also stream it out exactly like you're doing now.
Yeah.
And then we've got 2 video studios that kind of complement that.
How do you choose who you want to speak at these things? Because I do find, and I think there are probably a bunch of people listening who agree with me. The the number of people who I really actually want to hear from in South Africa is dwindling.
Yes.
And I don't mean that because, I've got a very high standard of people. It's like original ideas are actually very hard to come by. And people who can speak fluently and effusively about things and make it count, actually make you think, make you laugh, make you cry, vanishingly small number of people. So if you're putting together these things, you have to have a nice lineup of people. Otherwise, they're not just going to automatically come. They don't owe you anything, right?
I don't run them that often, to be honest with you. I speak at half of them these days. That's what people are wanting. The other half is that I'm picking
what kind of stuff do they want to hear from you? What do you find is the stuff that resonates?
Well, the current thing that's been working really well is I've got to talk about happiness that's blown up. But it's not kind of what you think, right? It's not the happy, clappy, sit around
motivational.
It's not motivational at all. Okay. In fact, it has like real dark elements to it.
Go into this a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I mean, we're both confused.
Yeah. Like, we're like, happiness is not happy clappy.
No, it's exactly it. So let's start by defining happiness from my perspective for a moment. If you think about happiness as the emotion, then it's fleeting. It's going to be here today and gone tomorrow. Then it's motivational. So I'm not trying to get you to feel happier. I think of happiness as learning to acquire the mental tools and the emotional infrastructure to deal with the complexity that we face today. So if you have better tools to deal with complexity, you are more sustainably happy. So the question is, how do we enable people to have those tools? So if you think about it, the schooling system was kind of meant to, this is the back of Suits and Sneakers too. The schooling system was really meant to enable you to have skills that will help you thrive in the future. But when you look at the world today and you think about what's going wrong, you'll see a number of things. First, people aren't happy by the numbers. More people killing themselves via drug and opioid abuse and suicide, which is quite ironic because it's never been a better time to be alive by the numbers. So that's an interesting conundrum. Two is, no one teaches you how to have a relationship with other people, and it shows. Most people can't agree to disagree. We can't debate elegantly in society. We don't know how to understand each other. So instead of seeing people as just different, we see different as bad.
Yeah.
And our whole country has a history of that. You look different, bad. You sound different, bad. So we don't learn how to have a relationship with others, and it shows everywhere. And then we don't even have a relationship with ourselves. Like, the crazy thing is that we don't even acknowledge this thing that I call the roommate. You know, that annoying voice in your head that comments about everything incessantly all the time. No one ever sits you down when you're a kid and says to you, hey, you're not going crazy. We all have that voice in our heads. And we don't even teach, because we don't acknowledge the roommate. We don't even have 2 seconds to tell young people when to listen to the roommate and when not. Because sometimes your roommate will offer you very good advice and you'll ignore it. Like, you'll meet someone and your roommate is screaming, there's something off here. And you're like, what's the worst that could happen? Yeah. Right? Other times, your roommate is a royal dick. We know this because it'll spew stuff at you like you're not good enough, you don't belong, imposter syndrome type of stuff.
Sure.
And you shouldn't believe, and you do. And then I think of all the glaring omissions that we aren't taught when we're young is how to have a relationship with pain, which sounds quite morbid, but go with me.
No, you're spot on.
Like, people,
I like this.
The problem here is that nothing you can do to avoid pain in this world. And yet our brains are designed to keep us safe, not make us happy. So what we do is we go about life trying to avoid doing anything hard, which is impossible. And then when we feel hard, we do anything to numb it.
We've become completely averse to any kind of risk, discomfort. Exactly. You hear people saying, that's making me uncomfortable.
Exactly.
You know, when I hear someone say, I'm sorry, but you're making me feel uncomfortable with words, I think this is not a person who is acclimatized to life on Earth. Like, this is actually a person who's been watching Disney movies their whole life long and is not to be taken seriously.
Yeah, like, imagine if you were actually uncomfortable and you walked out of the room. You'd walk out of every room, and then you realize you can't live with people.
I'm uncomfortable right now. I would rather be. I'd rather be in bed. I would. Yes. I'd rather be watching the sun come up. I never see the sunrise at my house. I'm always waking up doing the show.
Well, your house is facing the wrong direction.
It's facing west. But here's the problem. Is that people have the resilience. And you think back to, like just 2 generations ago. First of all, if you can even figure out what your grandparents' life was like, because most people don't even know who the grandparents are necessarily. They can't name them. They can't tell you when they were born, what they survived, what they went through, because they have no interest. They're only interested in them right now.
Yeah.
So your vision is so limited to like my day-to-day experiences and how I'm feeling right now that you're navel gazing the whole time instead of actually looking back. So 2 generations ago, wars, famine, no refrigeration, very, very rudimentary medicine. You were surviving off the land very often. There wasn't much of an economy to speak of. There were authorities who could just draft you into an army and send you off to somewhere to fight somebody you didn't even have a problem with necessarily. You didn't really have much control of your destiny, and yet at the same time you were responsible totally for yourself. And no one was coming to save you, and that was fairly evident to all of our ancestors until very recently. Now we've got these people who are so cotton-wooled. They're so like protected from all of the possible bad eventualities of life that when one of those sneaks through, because they're going to come through, right? Like you're going to lose a parent, you're going to have a car accident, you're going to run out of money. These are things that will happen to every person on earth. You will have one of those things, and there are plenty more on the list. You're just going to fall in a heap and cry and spend the next 10 years in sessions with poor Dr. Hanan, making him fucking crazy because you can't sort out your problems?
You are absolutely spot on. And it's these things seem simple, but they're not obvious to most people. The fact that we don't like to do anything hard, difficult, uncomfortable. We're biologically wired that way in a sense. Yeah. The brain is designed to keep you safe, not make you happy. Pain in a previous lifetime meant death. So you're wired to keep it. But if you understand that and you understand you can't avoid it, then you start to tackle these things. And you also start to understand that actually what pain does is it plays a very significant role in your life for the good in the long term. Pain is effectively what helps you understand something emotionally where previously you understood it intellectually.
Yeah.
So if I put my hand on this hot stove here in front of you, you guys aren't dumb. You see that it's Aina. It's when you put your hand on the hot stove that you viscerally understand that this is something you don't want to do again. And so you understand it deeply.
Most people cannot learn vicariously, right?
No. So
even though they'll read, this is why I find that whole section of any book shop where there's like books on business, books on mental health, books on motivation, all that stuff. I'm like, just ignore those. But the people who go to that section are exactly not my people.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to learn from those things, try as they may. You have these people who are constantly reading like biographies of billionaires and thinking that this is going to somehow give them the secret so that they can somehow become this tremendously successful person. And they won't, by virtue of the fact that they're buying those books.
I think if you had your 5th book, I think you're doing something right. You're not a millionaire. I think they're not working.
Well, yeah. I mean, like if you've actually read more than 5 books, that would be a good start in life, right?
Yeah, that's great motivation of knowing.
And especially 5 books that are about different things.
But don't you just need one good idea from any book? I mean, why do we read books? It's not like any book on any topic is going to fundamentally change you. You're just trying to hopefully expose yourself to.
What do you like to read?
I found myself reading less, and I simply watch a lot of YouTube videos these days. I've read all the great books, and I must say that every time what I've got out of any of them is just like one idea, and it just pushed me to want to go try something out in the real world. Because that's really what you want to do, is gather whatever inspiration, new piece of knowledge, whatever, and then it needs you to take some kind of action in the real world and get you going again. So if that's what reading does for you, I think that's pretty cool.
Well, reading, YouTube videos,
anything.
Podcasts, audiobooks, whatever your format, your preferred
I just think what happens is what you want to do in life is open up your input systems a little. Because if you're the type of person who typically wakes up in the morning, what are your normal inputs if you closed off? Your spouse in the morning and your kids, the radio on the way to work, your work people. So what happens is if you wash, rinse, and repeat those input systems, you become a very closed-minded person naturally. You're not exposed to new ideas.
Right.
So what you're wanting to do is you do want to listen to those podcasts. You do want to read a new book and try get someone else's perspective or input into your life. And hopefully a few more inputs helps you see the world a little bit differently. But the major key is you can have all the inputs you want. If you don't go out and throw darts at the dartboard and try for yourself, it's a mess.
So going back to happiness for a second, because you were saying what you're talking about a lot at Suits and Sneakers and all these other events that you're doing is that you're talking about a sustained happiness, something that will be there for a long. It's not just the feeling of, okay, I'm in a good mood right now.
No. In fact, I'm quite anti that idea. I keep saying to people that happiness doesn't mean feeling happy all the time.
No.
And you have to be able to learn how to go through these motions of life, which you would think would be obvious to us, but we're not taught these things. We taught math, English, science, whatever, but no one teaches you how to be happy. And it's quite funny because...
Yeah, but who could? Have you seen what teachers are like at schools? They're the most unhappy people of all. How could they possibly?
They definitely shouldn't be teaching us about happiness. But the fact is, like, we actually have a fair bit of science around happiness, even by the data. But we're not, which is crazy, right? Like, why is happiness not a subject from the 1st to the 12th grade the way math is? If you think about it, like, quite seriously, though.
So we're going to go to happiness class. What if you could?
Yeah.
If you could define a curriculum around that, if you could build a curriculum around happiness, what would that even look like?
Well, the word happiness in this case is a gimmick, right? But
sure.
But I can tell you, I've got a whole workshop that I do, and just to go back a step. I was going through a bit of a hard time.
Finger painting.
No.
Like doing angels in the sand.
Like that is exactly what I want people to picture, because then when they don't get that, it's the best thing ever.
Rainbows and sunshines.
About 4 years ago, I was going through a bit of a hard time, and I was asking these questions a lot. And my nature as a speaker is I put together topics that just interest me. I wasn't trying to make money out of it. I just put it out. And the first time I ever presented the talk, so many people came to me and said, we need this topic more. And every time I put it out, it's like the number one, like I just did it in Cape Town to about 400 people. Right? There was not enough space in the room. And I don't think it's so much me as a speaker. I think this topic is interesting, especially when it's explained.
Okay, so why are people interested in this now like they haven't been before? The only mention of happiness that you will find in any documents of value is probably only in 1789 in the Declaration of Independence, where it says life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, so the pursuit of happiness, very different to happiness itself.
Yes.
But this has not been a priority for human beings. Really, survival has been.
Yes.
So the idea of happiness even is a very novel concept to most people. If you went back into medieval times and you said, are you happy? They'd go, I don't even know what you mean. Like, I'm alive. I haven't been... I haven't had an axe thrown at my head in the last 24 hours, so I'm doing okay. My wife isn't sleeping with another man. She hadn't been carried off by Vikings. I think I'm okay.
Yes.
Or the neighboring village hasn't come and massacred everyone in my village, and now I've had to run for the hills. That's about as happy as they would ever understand happiness could be.
Yes.
What is happiness, this long-sustained kind? And I'm not trying to mock and ridicule the idea at all.
So at all.
I want to know what this means. What is it? What does it involve? What does it entail? How do I know if I'm happy in a modern existence? Because a lot of people do base it on that temporary feeling of like, okay, I'm feeling really good now. I just had a cold plunge this morning, so I'm temporarily happy. What is the secret ingredient that gives you an idea that this is something worth achieving?
Okay, the only way I can describe it is to explain it for me. I've seen it when I'm at my happiest. There's probably 3 things happening. I have the ability, I've developed the tools to deal with hard. That for me, it makes me happy. It's like, I know how to get through difficult situations. COVID was a good one. It was actually a really good lesson for me that you can put me in the worst position and somehow I'll figure out how to get through it. I won't be happy all the time. I won't feel happy, but I know how to get through it. 2, I think I'm at my happiest when I'm creating value for others. And I know that's a very like cliched broad term, but a part of twice a year, I run these workshops at no cost. And people always ask, like, why would you do it? And I'm like, because it wasn't about the money to begin with. I really enjoy when I actually see people, the light bulbs clicking over for people over 90 minutes where they come to you and they're like, that was really good. I needed that. Just right place, right time. I needed that. That is like one of the best feelings. And then I think there is a biological, physiological aspect to happiness. So the way I look after my sleep, which you guys really fucked up this morning. The way I look after my exercise, what I put into my body, these things. You're still a physiological, biological creature. So
of course.
The environment and what you put into your body and what you do has an impact. All I'm saying is that I think, yes, it is the gimmick I've stuck with because it resonates with people and it creates a little bit of division. People are like, well, happiness doesn't even matter. I'm like, well, it just all depends on how you define it. So I simply define it as learning how to acquire the mental tools and emotional infrastructure to deal with complexity. And if you look at the world and where it's at, most people are struggling right now because they weren't prepared. You're right that the world is snowflakey. It's the worst it's ever been. You know, it's so funny to me when people say, I'm offended. Well, they can't even ask themselves. They can't even go beyond, I'm feeling a feeling, but why am I offended? Yeah. It's just, I feel a feeling, therefore it must be true. And these are my favorite type of people to just fucking annoy 24/7. I pin at them. If I can use a word like shit and it can rile up your whole day and mess you up, I know where we're at already. Yeah. Oh my God, he used that language and I was so worked up. What a word. So if I say fudge, no problem. I just rearrange these letters slightly. I've got you.
You're dealing with infantile people.
It's and that shows you the level that we're dealing with. And you want to go to these people and go, hold on, you are going to have the hardest life ever.
But they deserve, if you don't learn. Why are you trying to help them? They deserve it.
Well, to be fair, I'm not trying to. This is the best part about what I do. I'm not going after those people. I put out what I do, and whoever comes to the workshops, come to the workshop. So it's purely willing.
Okay, one last question on this happiness thing, because I mean, I do find it fascinating, but I worry sometimes that we're getting into the job of the philosophy department at some university. Is happiness really enough? Is it a good enough goal? Because it can be a pointless pursuit if you're just trying to pursue happiness. And this comes from someone who's pretty much happy.
Yes.
Like I don't have to do a lot to be happy. I actually have to work hard to be grumpier and to be more cynical and more practical and more involved in the material world. Because I do wake up happy. But I don't know that that's a good enough goal to have. Is it?
It all depends on how you're defining it. So I think why you're happy, part of why you're happy, at least from the outside, is you're doing great and meaningful work that you enjoy. You're looking after yourself. You're true to yourself finally. You've said now more than ever, like you will go to the things that you want to go to. You won't go to the things you don't want to go to. And you'll know why. And so to be clear on where you're at and why, to understand your own boundaries, to do work that's meaningful, to have a close, tight-knit group of people that you love and you get to spend time with, and just to recognize, to finally have the maturity to realize that, hey, I've got a great life and I'm grateful for it. That I would pin this to why you're happy.
Isn't happiness just, someone in the comments here is making a point that I think we were going to get to anyway. Yeah. Nikki says, is it not just resilience and grit, making a shit situation into a better one? Happiness is not caring what people think, having no expectations. But that last part's what interests me. Nikki, expectation meeting reality is where happiness lives.
Absolutely.
Some people have unrealistic expectations, and some people have no ability to bring those expectations anywhere near what reality actually is, right? And understanding basic stuff like you can be training every day on the soccer field, and you can be praying every night, and you can be reading all the books about Cristiano Ronaldo that you can. Not going to turn you into a champion footballer. It's not. And that dream must be put out while you're still young, and you can choose other dreams. Because if that dream is eventually snuffed out at age 35 and you've been trying this and it's just not leading to results, and no one's giving you an alternative dream, of course you're going to get upset and murder someone or, or do something terrible. Like, get reality and your expectations to
So was it Nikki? Nikki nailed it. Expectation is the agreement that you make with yourself that you won't be happy until you get what you want.
Yeah.
And so, but all of these things are incredibly nuanced.
Carl says, this is very important. Can you ask Sham how a leb can be happy? They're all angry, says Carl.
Oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. I talk about being Lebanese, how we inherit these stories, right? You'll understand this well. So apparently I inherited the story that I'm Lebanese, which means I must just be angry all the time, and I must have no neck because my parents are cousins and they slept with each other, and I must just be angry with everyone.
Is that what happened, Sham? I'm so sorry.
Well, first your mom, now your parents.
It's so funny. I was out a few months ago, and this Lebanese acquaintance that I had, he gets involved in a scuffle that had nothing to do with him. And afterwards, I'm like, but why?
Why did you go into it?
Why did you go? And Dinkum, he says, you know, us lebs, but they can't disrespect us like that. And I watched this with like utter,
like in
utter
the hierarchy,
amazement.
in the hierarchy of great nations of planet Earth, the lebs don't even make the top 20. And yet they like worried about being disrespected, you know.
But he said it with a straight face, and I was like, "Wow, he's inherited this idea that people like me have to do things like this." And I was like, "I am the worst non-leb. So sorry to all the real gays here, but I am the worst advertisement for real lebs."
When you grow up in the South, though, it's kind of important to have a tribe for some reason.
I'm just so not South. I'm so not, you know. The South is such a bizarre place, which we went. It's just such a bizarre place. I grew up there, so I have good memories on one end, but fuck me, what a place.
I've heard stories.
I think this is a good point too. Rebellious Root says gratitude is the key to everything. I think that's a major part of it. Gratitude.
Well, so the way to close this off is that there is no silver bullet to happiness. Yeah. It's a multifaceted approach, of which gratitude is one part of it. Now, if you go look in the literature, there is no question. But the problem is that people don't teach you how to be grateful. This sounds silly, but people, just feel grateful. No, the best gratitude is gratitude expressed. It's given. So if I say to you, are you grateful for your mom? You go, yes. It's not good enough. It's the expression of it. And this is where people struggle, is that it's easy to think it. It's very hard to do it. And therein lies the secret to the happiness, if you want to call it that, is that the secret to happiness is not in the knowing, it's in the doing. And this is what people, is like, you know how many times people come to these workshops and they go, so I always start with a disclaimer, like, I'm not going to tell you anything new. I'm just going to wrap it in a recipe that's unique.
Yeah.
But the fact is that I'm not here to tell you anything. I'm here to remind you. And the end reminder is, it's not in the knowing. People go, but I knew that. Yeah, but you can't know your way to happiness. You do it. And when you get that, your life changes. When you get that, the gratitude is expressed, not thought. That the difficulty and pain is that you actually get through it. You don't talk about it. Self-awareness isn't something you know. It's something you do. And when you get your head around that, then you're a happier version of yourself.
I love Ricky's comment here. Happiness is there are two South African supporters that the camera spots at every Springbok game, a lady and a guy with a few teeth. Have you seen these people?
Yeah.
And they've obviously been paid to do this. I don't know if it's DSTV or if it's SA Rugby or whatever. They sent this one black lady and this dude with like the biggest gap in his teeth.
Yeah.
And clearly these people are sent there. They're actors who are there to play a part. I mean, it's just so stupid. Do they think we're first of all, I want to know what these people are doing for a living if they get sent to every Springbok game. What are they doing?
Department of Tourism, actually.
You think it's that?
I read on Twitter last night, which is a really credible source, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
But apparently
I've seen these people. I don't even watch rugby and I don't watch that much to know, but I've seen these two people. It just seems to me like it's so contrived.
Well, I didn't know that they were paid. I thought they were just there and they kept popping up. But I'm a little bit naive like that. And then last night I read that they actually get paid to be there. Look, we've got bigger fish to fry in the bigger scheme of things. I would love to have had that money to push tourism locally, but it's
but they're coming up with brilliant schemes like Tottenham Hotspurs.
Yes.
So
I got into it on Twitter because of those two, that one and the Trevor Noah deal.
Yeah, they paid him 30 million rand.
I got some facts there.
Okay.
He's not getting paid 33. The whole campaign is 33 bar.
Okay.
It's not with the Department of Tourism. It's with a private organization.
Because even he got upset with them.
Because I think he got unlucky in the way media tend to portray these things. Part of that 33 million rand is his fee. Part of that 33 million rand is the production to put all of this together and then the money to distribute the ads. So I don't know what percentage of that is his, but I don't even think it's close to all of the 33 mil. No. It's to get it out. My argument came into effect on Twitter, which I stand by this, that there are much better ways to market South Africa broadly, barring a one-off smash campaign. These people don't understand marketing. I've had it out with them a number of times, but it's private money and they're choosing, but I just think like 33 million rand. I come from a marketing background. I'm in the travel space. I've got the data to support this. I could tell you what I would do at 33 million rand. And by the way, it wouldn't just be me. Like it wouldn't be one person. That's the whole point.
Yeah, because Trevor knows just sent me a message saying, tell Mark Sham, he's not going to convince them to spend it on him.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
No, and that's the crazy thing is when I said it, I love Trevor. I'm a fan of Trevor.
All right.
So I don't think he's getting a fair rap either.
Okay. Well, You know what? Tourism we'll get to, and travel, because it's a big part of what you're doing now. But I want to go to Monsieur Jean-Jacques Cornish, because we do this every, what is it now, every 2 weeks, where we check in on what's going on the continent. And Jean-Jacques, it is always good to see you. How are you, sir?
Bonjour, I'm immensely well, thanks. Just to say to Mark, I'm quoting Jean Cocteau, the famous French writer, when he said, there is no such thing as love, only proof of love. And to Mark, I would say there is no such thing as happiness, only proof of happiness, and gratitude, and all of those complex things, only proof of them.
You see, we needed French philosophy to help us through this very ugly briar patch that we stumbled into. So Africanalysis is with JJ Cornish, and it's brought to you by the Johannesburg Business School. We look at what's happening around the African continent. So Jean-Jacques, let's just talk quickly about Kenya, because we haven't been there for a little while. And there's some kind of a relationship between Kenya and Haiti at the moment. Haiti, of course, bedeviled since time immemorial by its ugly colonial past, and since the colonial past, a kind of very unpleasant existence. It seems to be the only place in the Caribbean where people are truly unhappy, and the Caribbean is not an unhappy place.
Well, they're very, very poor. I was there in 2010, as you know, with a rescue mission for the after the earthquake, which killed 220,000 people. Now, since the assassination 2 years ago of Juvenal Moise, the gangs have taken over. The gangs were very much there when I was there, I remember, but they've taken over and virtually run the city. There have been something like 2,200 people killed and nearly 1,000 people kidnapped. The Kenyans have come along and said, because there have been calls for an international force to help control or stabilize Haiti, and the Kenyans have come up and said, we will lead that force. We have had experience in Kosovo, in Namibia, in Somalia, in the DRC, in Tigray. We will do that. And last night, the UN Security Council voted 13 to 0 for this to happen. Russia and China, interestingly, abstained. Had they voted against it, of course, that would have been a veto. It wouldn't have happened. But the countries of Barbados, Barbuda, Jamaica, and Antigua are also going to send troops, or have said they would. The United States delighted and congratulating Kenya, and saying that they will provide $100 million for supporting this and give it logistical and other support. Clearly, these big countries don't want to be involved in such peacekeeping operations, but they're prepared to bankroll them. There is some concern, though, that the Kenyans, in doing the jobs we've spoken about earlier, have had human rights abuses. They go over the top. Now, are they going to be properly controlled? Do you need proper control when you're coming against Haitian gangs, kidnappers, rapists, murderers? So it will be the first Kenyan troops will be deployed at the beginning of next year. So, it takes time. The UN often wanted to have a standby peacekeeping force, but then a lot of countries say, you want to have a lot of UN blue helmet soldiers ready to move in. Next thing, they'll be moving in against me. So they resisted having a standby force. So when you want to put together a UN force, it's a matter of months to do that, often 6 months or more to get it done.
It is quite interesting, though, that, we're sending resources and people and ideas from Africa to sort out problems in the rest of the world. I mean, that's a clever way for Kenya to kind of position themselves. The signal they're sending to the world is that we aren't just people who take these things and need these things and sit with a begging bowl. We're actually here to help, which is, I think, a very positive development, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. We had our president and the new Nigerian president last week at the UN Security General Assembly annual debate. And the Nigerians said Africa is not a place to be avoided or place to be pitied. We are the key to the future. And Kenya, a very, very positive step in doing this. Well, obviously, they're going to have to mind their P's and Q's, as it were, but it's a positive story for Africa, this.
All right, so JJ, let's go from the sublime to the ridiculous. We spoke about Gabon the other day, and every time we mention the name of that country, Bakabantu smiles because we know the history that you helped us understand last time you were on. But Gabon, things not getting any better. Apparently, even football stars and all kinds of sexual exploitation, stories of rape. What the hell's happening in Gabon?
Well, if you are a junior footballer in Gabon, you better watch yourself. And that's the sad thing. We have the former coach. His name was Patrick Asumu Ayi, also known as Capello. He's confessed to grooming and raping, and he's actually in jail now awaiting sentences. Something like 4 major coaches have been arrested, 3 of them still in jail at this time. But the population are furious, saying we should have seen this happening. There have been reports. There were reports as long as 2 years ago in The Guardian about that. But these young football stars of the future have come forward saying this is what has happened. The two of this guy describing, a 17-year-old describing how he was taken into a room with a fellow footballer, young footballer, and there were these men who began to abuse them and rape them, and it's something that, you know, you'll never play football again. And they were told, if you want, you better keep silent about this if ever you plan to pull on your boots for Gabon. So it's a very, very tragic football story, and the international footballing authorities are getting involved.
Wow, what a bizarre thing to happen! And you say 4 coaches. I mean, it sounds like if you go into coaching football in Gabon, we can kind of tell what your real motives are. Huh?
Yes, I suppose you could use. We could use it. You know, if you go to the clergy in certain churches, I suppose, you know,
right? Yeah,
one of those things. But anyway,
all right. Well, that's ugly because it's not as if that country doesn't have enough to deal with at the moment. So, very, very strange story. The Reconstruction Conference, poor old Libya. I mean, really, talk about a basket case. They probably, at the moment, are one of the most dangerous places in the world to be. In Libya, you don't want to be there. You've spoken about how you went there once when Gaddafi was still in charge, and it was a fascinating place, not necessarily the most democratic or open society, but it was a very interesting place. Disaster. I mean, like Libya, since all that misadventure, let's call it that, under Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama's administration, just a mess. Nothing. It's warlords and terror and destruction everywhere. So have we got any hope for the future?
It was believed that the flooding, the terrible, terrible flooding that washed away half of Derna, the city in the east, had done one thing, and that is bring the 2 governments. There's opposing governments, the government in the east under Khalifa Haftar, the rebel leader, and the UN-recognized government in the west, in Tripoli. It had brought them together, but they clearly are not together because the Reconstruction Conference. Now, when they hold these things, the people, the great and the good, come together with fat wallets promising money, and they were due to do that this month. Now they have delayed it, so there's a lot of skepticism about it. But the Eastern government, the rebel government, is announcing that it's moving money to people, to victims of this, people who have lost every single thing they have. But the UN envoy, Abdoulaye Bathily, is saying, please don't give money to anyone yet. Put the money through the United Nations. You know, this is that they were talking about the death toll there being, you know, 200,000. Well, we don't know how bad this is going to be yet, but the death toll, according to the Easter, the rebel government, is quite a bit lower than that, but bodies are still being found all the time. The fact is, though, that conference is going to take place now next month, and I still hope that the donors of substance are going to pitch up there. But the Libyans have to get their act together because they're fighting. They're saying that had they been properly warned, the death toll would have been much, much lower. And that never happened. But, the government in the West is saying, how could we warn? And I think I did mention this before, that Derna, the city, was against the brother leader, Muammar Gaddafi. And so he ignored it. And actually, the underdevelopment there is as a cause of that, because they just said, well, if you're a bunch of rebels in the East, let's not bother about you. And so they're paying the price, or paid the price for that over the years, but they're paying the ultimate price for it now.
Well, I've got to sort of pop quiz for all of us. I mean, where do you think the worst place you could find yourself on the African continent might be? South Sudan, Somalia, Libya, Gabon, which, I mean, it's a photo finish between just those four. Mali's not great. Where would you least like to find yourself right now, JJ?
Well, I would least like to find myself in Morocco at the moment because I've spoken against the Moroccans, and they've labeled me l'assassin de plume, the assassin with the pen.
Oh,
I want to.
Congratulations!
I want to get a T-shirt made with that on it, but I wouldn't go to Morocco, and I've implored my family members not to go because they're the most spiteful regime. I think if I put my foot there, I'd be on toll, behind bars within minutes, and who would know what would happen to me then?
JJ, I watched for the first time ever, I'm embarrassed to say, last night I watched Casablanca, which is obviously the movie from 1942, black and white movie, famous.
Yes, looking at you, kid.
That's right. Humphrey Bogart and Ingrid Bergman. And obviously it was all filmed during World War II, about that time period. So on sound stages and not anywhere near Morocco. But a fascinating story that kind of, I think, led to a lot of the world's ideas of what places like Casablanca are really like. And it's just interesting you should bring up Morocco this morning because it's very much on my mind.
Well, when we first started out and I said this could be the start of a beautiful relationship, that I stole that line from Casablanca.
And maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. There are a lot of these lines. And what was the other one? Play it, Sam. And then they go
but he never said play it again, Sam. That's the line, from the Woody Allen movie. Yeah,
correct.
I wish I had some ivories to tinkle now and sing. You must remember
this. All right, thank you, JJ.
What a movie! Life is not complete until you've seen it. I'm sure.
Well, I've finally grown up and watched Casablanca, so I don't have to be embarrassed anymore.
Good for you.
Thank you. JJ Cornish, everybody. And that is Africanalysis, which is brought to you by the Johannesburg Business School, looking at what happens around Africa and even a quick movie review from JJ Cornish.
What a guy.
Oh, he's terrific. He knows all his stuff. And what a movie, hey? Sure. I mean, I
haven't watched it.
Well,
so I've got the interest.
It's worth it. It came up in a conversation I had on Saturday at this birthday party I went to. And I suddenly thought, what's my excuse?
So how did you watch it?
Oh, I downloaded an illegal version of it from the internet.
Okay.
And then, because, I mean, where am I going to find, dust off the reel to reel?
That's why I'm asking, like, how would you go find it? It would be quite interesting.
I got it right here if you want it. And I don't think anyone's alive who made that movie who's going to be upset about the royalties, except for the studios. But look, you got to find them where you can find them. But what a movie. I can't believe it's taken me this long to watch.
Okay.
Well, I wouldn't say it was life-changing or anything, but when they just used to tell good stories with good dialogue.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Okay, I'm adding that to the list.
And that Ingrid Bergman, who was one of the most beautiful women in the world, Swedish by birth, she is the mother of Isabella Rossellini, right? You nod your head like you knew this.
Yes.
I don't know these things.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know
No. So
I didn't know any of this.
So when I watch movies, I do the entire deep dive. I'm very interested in movies and how they're made and whatnot, right? So when I watch Citizen Kane, I wasn't blown away because apparently it's a perfect movie. But when you look back, you need to think about it at the time. Just like Casablanca, at the time when this was made, it was mind blowing. It was a good story, just hit the right spot. Hit the people at the right time.
So are you a tough critic? Is that what you're saying? You're the tough movie critic.
No, I'm a tough movie critic.
But
like, I still swear I can't criticize The Godfather till this day.
Is that that's the cream of the crop?
Yes. You can't fault that movie from start to end.
The first one.
The first one, yes. Yes. The Godfather. You can't.
Really? They don't match up, huh?
No, part 2 does.
Part 2 is good.
Part two does because, And then part 3, no. There's only 2 Godfather movies and 1 book.
Right. So, if you were a malevolent dictator, you'd just destroy
part 3.
all evidence of
Yeah,
Godfather Part 3.
Basically.
Good to know.
Basically.
All right, very good. It is 7:00. We got to take a break. We got Mark Sham in the studio with us, and we will hear from you in the comments sections. Also, plenty of news that we start to get into, some other exciting and interesting stuff. Don't go anywhere. CliffCentral.com. It is Tuesday.
This week on the Auto Trader Podcast.
And we got a super interesting show today. And we're not just alone. We have a special guest as well. Mr. Ian Banner, who's the chairperson of World Rallycross, as well as E-Movement South Africa. Hi, Ian.
Hi. Hello to you, Andy, and to George, and to the listeners. Wonderful to be on your podcast.
Oh, lovely to have you. I mean, this is not the first time we actually interact with Ian, eh, George?
No.
I think we saw him at E-Fest.
Yes.
Last show. For the Formula
was it
E.
last year or the year before?
No, it was this year, actually. Earlier this year.
Was it this year?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Time flies.
Time flies.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
With those cable breaks, the biggest problem was effectively how those cables had been put into the sea in the first place. So, for example, Sat3, you've got 2002, I think the knowledge there in terms of laying cables was rather slim. So let's be fair on it. We give the guys kudos where we can, right? So they laid it about 400 kilometers offshore from Africa. Along the coast there. And Wax kind of followed suit very similarly that way. It's only been later that we found out that the Congo River has got quite a long, or should I say, very strong flow. And what happens is when there's a lot of rain, the flow, from the river comes into the sea, and it actually pushes the rocks and boulders on the, seashore.
No ways.
Yeah, and those boulders actually effectively snag the cable and they break the cable.
And so what you're saying is 400 kilometers is not far enough or not deep enough.
It wasn't far enough, yeah. So like I said, the guys didn't know that then. Now we do. So, for example, with Equiano, we've laid Equiano about 1,000 kilometers, 1,200 kilometers offshore. So it doesn't get affected so much from that, push from the water effectively.
Thanks for listening to Unbundled, brought to you by Catalytic, a series that aims to demystify technology so that you can make smarter decisions for your business. Remember that you can listen to all of the episodes on the Cliff Central app or website. And for added convenience, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify, Google, or wherever you listen. And if you're looking for help with communications tools in your business, please visit catalytic.co.za.
All right. It is Tuesday morning. We've got Mark Sham here as our surprise guest this morning. Surprise!
Thank you so much for having me.
Did you feel silly walking down that path through our little garden all the way here, thinking they don't even know I'm coming? All right. Yeah, you were going to say something?
The only part about the surprise was that I would love to have told more people that I was doing this.
Please, we don't do it for publicity.
I know.
What did you think of our little place here?
I dig this. I came to your the old spot that you had many times.
Yeah.
And it is obviously quite nostalgic about that, all the signatures and the writing on the walls. And
you're nostalgic about I wasn't even.
I know. I read your thing. We are very different like that. But then this is really cool. Yeah.
It's
also,
fun.
it looks like you could throw some mean parties here.
Oh, yeah. I think we must do that this summer. All right. So we got a couple of things that are happening in the news. We'll have Mark's thoughts on these. And then we also want to talk a bit about travel and tourism. It's something that you've got into in a big way. So, all right. Durban has been hit by multiple protests. I'm not surprised because if you live in Durban, even if you're extremely wealthy, if you live anywhere around Durban, like go all the way up the coast, down the coast, inland, everywhere, things have become measurably worse in that province particularly. It's true for Johannesburg too, but it seems like people are just kind of given up on governing in KZN. And I know there are probably a few good people who are going to be upset by this and say to me, oh, that's not true. We have a very good ward councillor or whatever. But a demonstration that began with protesters burning tires on the M19 under the N2 bridge earlier moved further down the route. eThekwini's Metro Police spokesperson Sibusiso Nene and Alpine and Umgeni roads said Alpine and Umgeni roads were closed for traffic from Britannia Hotel on both sides. You're advised not to use Umgeni Road. Umgeni is a no-go zone, says the Metro Police. The Metro Police say it's a no-go zone. Roads in some areas south of Durban were also disrupted due to protest action. And of course, we know they've had the riots, they've had the floods. Businesses have struggled enormously in that part of the world. It's such a fantastic place when it works.
When it works.
I love going there, or loved going there. I have no desire to go back there until they get their shit together. But I don't know if that's going to happen. And you travel a lot locally. How do you feel about this? KZN.
You're right, absolutely right about KZN. Unfortunately, they've taken an absolute beating from a political standpoint, from a service delivery perspective. I think you got to subdivide Durban a little bit further. I think the parts of Durban that are thriving is around that Belito area.
Yeah.
They're far enough away. Even Umhlanga is getting a bit of a hiding because it's a little bit closer to everything. But
and they've got like human turds on the beach.
Yes. So they've it's just been one thing after the other. But again, people live in these little bubbles. You go to Belito, it feels like paradise on earth. I was just there a few weeks ago, twice. I mean, amazing. But Durban itself has really struggled. And then a whole bunch of the small towns around the South Coast are getting a real hiding. I don't know. It's one of those things. What do we actually do about it anymore? I think people are so tired and so fed up, but also so under the gun.
You've got to get your energy and your courage back. We all have to as South Africans.
Exactly.
So what do you think of this?
No. So I'm all for protest action in terms of voicing your opinions, but this is like, you can't destroy what you have already. So like this no-go zone, this violence, I'm not in support of it, especially with the history like the riots and whatnot. But yeah, when you do have 6 beaches filled with E. coli that could kill you, and meanwhile
That's not so great.
Meanwhile we're trying to build what's that hotel we spoke about just a couple of weeks back? This state-of-the-art hotel.
They're putting a Club Med up on the North Coast.
So now you have this bipolarness where we are trying to do something with this great gem, and a lot of political strife and a lot of history is just pulling this place down. Something's got to give.
Well, I hope we can sort it out. I mean, again, the converse of this is the Cape, right? Yeah. I mean, they just seem to be, and it's partly governance, but it's also like people with money need to want to be in a place so that the people who don't have money will be able to get jobs and eventually get money.
Yes.
Because clearly, just throwing money at a problem is also not going to solve it. It's very complicated. I wouldn't want to govern this place. Let me tell you. I wouldn't want to govern South Africa.
Who's going to be the KZN savior, I think? Is that Chris Papas.
You think so?
I tell you, I think he's the ANC's worst nightmare.
Now, he's the DA ward council for like
Umgeni. But where this gets interesting is, so I've been following him for a while. I actually tweeted about him last night. I have no affiliation toward him. I don't know him personally. I've just been watching what he's doing, and I'm like, young, early 30s.
He's 30.
He's 30.
Wow.
Okay.
Good for him.
Gay guy, little ginger, funny looking character. Speaks fluent Zulu.
Yeah.
But he's well spoken. Emotionally, he understands what he's saying. So he's tried to not ride on the coattails of, I speak Zulu as a white guy.
Dude,
Like he listens. And then I heard him accept his premiership for KZN.
Oh,
right?
is he the candidate?
He's the candidate.
Okay.
But he said something that I thought was genius. It's the only person in the DA that can read the room besides Jordan Hill, I think. He said, like, okay, in his speech, he said, to be fair, to say that the ANC has done no good wouldn't be true. If you look at 1994 to here, and he starts listing, which is unheard of, what the ANC has done well.
Must have taken all of two and a half minutes.
Yeah, because he could only talk from 94 to about 2007, okay? But he's like, okay, we've done these things.
Yeah, no, that's right. That is fair.
And he says, but I think we've reached the limit of what they can do and we can't go further. And this is where they've regressed. And here's what we've done. Because all he's been doing for about the last 2-3 years is using social media to tell people, this is what we did yesterday. This is what we did yesterday. And he's turning that little, I don't want to, like, it takes a while to turn a place around.
No, he's
but
turning
it's
it around.
unbelievable what he's done. Roads getting resurfaced and tarred. Like every time he buys new equipment, he's telling people about it. It's just incredible. And so he's winning people over the way you should by what you do.
Exactly. He's involved people in governance because he holds these meetings where I think he had like 8 in 2 weeks where he explains the budget but influence Zulu so that the people understand. He's like, the reason why we need this tar road is because we need the trucks to deliver certain things. He explains that they're going to get a McDonald's. Okay, granted, it's McDonald's, but that shows economic growth. That shows investment.
I think it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal to their town.
Yeah, it's what he's doing. But I think he's being set up for failure. That's a different story. Burning platform. Thursdays.
Well, I mean, listen.
But you were talking KZN. I think he actually.
I think
he could. I think he could because he's actually built an army of supporters: black, white, Indian, Asian, you name it. Because at the fundamental level, I think all of us just want
things to work.
I think so. Hey, I really think
this
so.
This is a kid who went from from the village up until UP and came back. He's like, I'm gonna fix it. I want my town to work. That's a great story.
Good.
And people are behind him for that.
Good.
And that's a guy. And I'm not mad about the DA, but that's a guy.
I'm glad you brought him up. Okay.
That's a guy I can get behind.
They asked him, why did you learn to speak Zulu? And his reply was, so that I'm better able to listen to the people. Well, that's what a politician would say.
Yeah, they've bastardized that a little.
Okay.
His reply, that's typical media. He simply said, the thing is, I'm not here to speak. The best part about being able to speak Zulu is that I can listen. That's what he kind of said.
They twisted
it.
Yeah,
they twisted it. He didn't say that. They were pushing him like, but you speak what you said. But the better part is that I can understand where people are at. Yeah.
No, this guy, like what you stumbled on about the language thing is what Mandela also said about language is it takes, once you speak someone's mother tongue and once you understand how they mean it, it's an entire different form of understanding. So I see why you like him.
Yeah, and again, I'm apolitical. I'm beyond it. Couldn't we all just agree? If we could even just get the ANC to do it, right? If they could have been the people, then we'd be like, who gives a shit who does it?
Yeah.
Can you get your roads to work? Can you not be in this position? I'm so apolitical. I couldn't give a shit. But since they've proven they can't do it, I don't care who gets it done.
No one's in love with any political party except the people in them, right? The average South African, I mean, listen, we've got such voter apathy. People don't even care enough. And that we've got to fix. But if we just look past these legacy parties and even the new ones who aren't going to gather enough support. I mean, like with all the best will in the world, Songezo Zibi and Musi Maimane and Herman Mashaba, all of these guys, no one's really going to suddenly get enthusiastic about them. You know, Bantu Holomisa has been trying it for years. No one's super enthusiastic about him. And in the ANC, they're only enthusiastic because that's the teat that they suckle from, right?
That's the pie.
And in the DA, I don't think anyone's like, whoa, I'm so DA.
Yeah.
You know, and if
there's a few Cape Town people who, because when I talk about the DA on Twitter, the problem with most people is that they very much struggle to have 2 or more opposing views held at the same time.
Right.
So like things are a spectrum. I dislike immensely the way the DA communicates. I like the way they deliver service in certain areas of the country. I think they've got major communication problems on one end. And then I think they've done other unbelievable things like they've invested in young talent. Chris Papas, Jordan Hill. These are 2 superstars. If you look at the way they handle things and they've given them, to be the mayor of Cape Town, by 35.
That's amazing.
Is remarkable. So what have they done well? They haven't just said we believe in young, new blood. They've done it.
Yeah. Well, it's what you were saying about happiness earlier. Don't just think.
But then the way they communicate, if I can have the rant for 2 seconds, John Steenhuisen is the biggest fucking nerd on the planet. You know what John Steenhuisen does, and they have to get rid of him. And I'm sorry, John. John follows me on social, and I'm not bashing his character, but this is the problem in politics, so I'm going to say it. The problem is that John, being the head of the DA, he's like the annoying nerd at school that is right. So he's standing there in the corner of the class going, the answer on the board is, and he's moaning and everybody's looking going, Jesus Christ, John, shut up. And then the teacher says, but he's right. And everybody knows he's right. I'm not saying he's right about everything. I'm saying he's right in what he says, but everybody's like, you're so annoying because you don't get how to communicate to people. So they're like, you're right, but no one gives a shit. And so when you look at social media sentiment, this is interesting. He went from being that guy that could be in parliament and crack a few perlers to now he's leading the party. And I don't think the party's thriving because of him. I think they're doing okay in spite of him, and they're not reading the room. You have to, if you're going to have a white guy, it's call a spade a spade. It cannot be the annoying nerd. It can't be him. It has to be someone who's a bit more down the line.
You're enjoying this.
So I have this love-hate relationship with the DA because I bought a place in Cape Town recently. They're doing great things in Cape Town, parts of Cape Town. And then on other parts, you're like, oh my God, you just keep shooting yourself in the dick every single day. Anyways, okay, now I'm done.
Mr. Sham, you have taken me on a roller coaster. Talk about happiness right there.
So, all right, you are one of those people who's been to a lot of different places. You've spent quite a bit of time in these different places. And in fact, I got into a conversation with you when we were both at a wedding a couple of weeks ago about Switzerland, among other places. So when you've traveled, you actually appreciate and understand South Africa a whole lot better. And there's so much that we kind of take for granted if you're here and you've never seen anything else. And you also imagine about the rest of the world, which is not always true. There's no paradise. Everywhere has their problems. But you said to me you really like the way Switzerland works. Everything works. Tell me about that, and then tell me about why you still want to be here in South Africa.
Okay, so let me preface this with, I wrote an article that went viral, and I'm only mentioning it because it stands true here. Anytime you want to go anywhere, you want to leave anywhere, there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. It's an old Thomas Sowell comment, and it's so true. So if you want to leave South Africa, understand that you're going to give up some stuff, you're going to gain some stuff.
Right.
And your experience is going to be determined by what you value. But you value multiple things, which is what makes it so hard. Right? Because you're going to miss friends and family, but you're going to get this. So I spend an enormous amount of time in Switzerland for two reasons. One, because I want to set up a base in Europe to travel more, but I want to keep South Africa. Two, my girlfriend lives there. And as a result of spending time in Switzerland, I'm blown away by this country. It's remarkable. You've never seen a more efficient place. The place works. It's incredible. Okay, there's some trade-offs though. So the trade-offs are it's unbelievably expensive to be there. And more specifically, they've lost a bit of gees. The Swiss aren't a very like warm, coming to my bosom embrace kind of people. And they don't have a lot of problems. So everybody just stays in their lane. And they just like, everybody's like little silos that float around. So flip this to South Africa.
There's no real community.
There isn't community. And by the way, their kind of nature, I don't think they're unfriendly. I just think as it is, they to themselves.
Yeah.
Right. Like they stick in small little groups.
A lot of European countries.
What throws me off when I'm in Switzerland every time is smiling at someone and they point blank don't smile back. And you can't imagine this. Like what South Africa is so great at is that we are so warm and friendly for our other problems. No, imagine looking at someone and actually holding a smile to see if they will smile back. And they like,
and they don't.
To hell with you. You're not getting it. Okay. And so I'm generalizing, obviously, everything I'm saying, but but they catch you. It catches me there. So South Africa. Well, when COVID hit and we couldn't travel across to Europe and other places, and then they opened the local borders, that was when I truly understood the beauty of South Africa. Because my experience was like most people, Cape Town, Durban, Kruger, but for whatever it is, a year, where I couldn't travel abroad. I needed to scratch this itch. And I got into a car and I road tripped everywhere and to little towns and to places. And guys, I want to tell you point blank that South Africa is the most beautiful country on the planet because of its diversity. Just the physical beauty is just unbelievable. And a few days ago, I did this road trip to Cape Town and back, and I spread it over days. And I allowed Twitter to tell me where to go next.
Oh, wow.
It was remarkable. The places that I found. So a lot of people drive through Graaff-Reinet, for example, big church. Okay, but so many people said, before that, turn right, New Bethesda. Go check it out.
Okay, I've been to New Bethesda.
What? You like it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, if you
such
go,
a quaint little town.
Quaint town.
Yeah, Ethel Fugard wrote a book about it. So we went there on a school trip. the book we read, like Road to Mecca.
Wow.
The only reason you went there on a school trip is because you were at school in Craddock and there was nothing else close
Okay,
by.
that's
Beautiful,
also
Interesting.
beautiful town, right?
Right.
I'm all right, Mark. You're right.
So this is the thing. I've got this theory that the soul of South Africa actually resides in small towns.
But they're all a disaster.
Well, not all.
Most.
No, I would say half. But even then, when you drive in and you can just take the place for what it is, it's remarkable. You see the friendliest people. You see what's starting to blow me away about South Africa is in these small towns, people are specializing into something. Like take a restaurant. Someone's not just doing the sit down at my restaurant and there's fish and chips and there's pizza and there's burgers and these little places are going, we do this little thing and we do it well.
Right.
And I'm starting to just love the temperament and the soul, which I think resides in these small towns.
I'm very happy to hear that.
And then, of course,
because I've been led to believe, and in my own experience, I don't see a lot of positive stories coming out of these small municipalities. And obviously, they're all run very badly, but people seem to be moving away from them, not into them.
Well,
you drive through most of the towns on your way to somewhere, and you don't see a lot of development. You see retrogression. You see a liquor store and a funeral parlor and these are not happy places. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
Litter in the streets and like homeless people lying around, and it's a graveyard that hasn't had the lawn cut in like 50 years. It's not good.
I agree with that.
Okay, so
I would say that there's so it's hard to say because from town to town, each town is unique. But certainly when I did this drive just even 2 weeks ago, just some of those incredible towns, and then the closer you get to the Western Cape, those small towns are just unreal.
Yeah.
Grabouw, when you get to like Swellendam, these places, they are remarkable. And I think one thing that's going for small towns, to your point that you just mentioned, is it's a lot easier to fix a small town if a few people have money. So it's easier for the community to rally around a small town. It's quite difficult if we're going to go fix the city of Joburg, us. It's like impossible, right?
Task, yeah.
Without the support of government. But we could, if we're living in the small town of Swellendam and a few people get together and like, it's on us.
Yeah, let's sort out the water problem.
You can do that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's what started to happen in these small towns is a lot more agency being taken as a result of wanting to improve people's visits. So I have this theory that I believe, South Africa is a crazy place, but we've got immense good going for us. The problem is that we sit on the arse end of Africa. We're not well exposed to the rest of the world, barring social media and online. Not a great way to do it. No. When you go to Europe and you spend considerable time there, you realize that Europe's got great marketing, as does the US. They've got excellent Paris, best marketing in the world. That's why everybody goes there, right? But what you don't realize is like Sedgefield and Knysna doesn't have Paris as marketing, but it is glorious. Yeah. It's just remarkable.
Okay, all right. So this is good.
So I keep saying to people,
we need to hear this.
The soul of South Africa resides in small towns. Travel more, especially get onto the car and go on a road trip. Because I think that traveling will help you heal your broken relationship with South Africa. You'll start to realize that South Africa isn't fucking Joburg.
No.
And it isn't Sea Point. It's much more. And when you start to see it like that. So for all my sins, I've fallen in love with South Africa in the most deep way. And I'm on this mission to get people to act like tourists in their own city, in their own country. And the only thing you can do to get people to do that is you have to showcase it visually. Right, because I can tell you how amazing my trip was now. Exactly like this. I can say, oh, Gareth, I stopped in just the Elgin Valley, and Elgin, I'm not sure. It was heaven. And look, you're like, cool story. But when I show you some of those pictures, you're like, okay. When I show you the video,
but okay. Tell me about that little place in Switzerland where you stopped and it looked like it was like a picture postcard.
Now, the following words that I'm about to use will fail. But try imagine that it is literally a scene from one of those beautiful Swiss postcards. It's a fairy tale. It's called Brienz in Switzerland. And you arrive and what they've got is this turquoise blue water on the harbor with this backdrop of the Swiss Alps behind. And you've got the clouds in the sky on a perfect day. And the Swiss are known for their architecture. I mean, game on point here. And then they put all their little flower arrangements outside every house because you can't be outdone by your neighbor. It's the only time there's a bit of chaos.
Beautiful little flower boxes with
flower boxes, and they do not fuck with this. This is like you're serious. So I sent the drone up, and I caught this like orbiting shot of back looking over the harbor, over the water with the mountain at the back. And if I were to die one day in a place that isn't South Africa, that would be it. It's Brienz.
It's that beautiful. Huh?
Oh my God, it just. Oh. And then on this particular day, later, we went to a town called Lungen, right just next to it. And the sun was just behind the cloud. So it created this like light wave on the valley. Oh my God, I'm having a travelgasm in front of all of you. I know. I'm sorry, but if this is my point, is if you want to stop being grumpy about life, stop driving up and down Bryanston Drive all day.
Well,
it's going to change you.
Jocelyn says, Mark, I followed your trip on Twitter and I fell in love with South Africa again.
Jocelyn, you little beauty.
There we go. Mark says, example is Clarence. The municipality's trash, but the place is beautiful.
Oh my God, I could love a fair. I could love bomb Clarence flat out. I've been there lots. I'm actually going back to do a Like a Tourist video. And I'm going to plug Like a Tourist for one reason. If you want to ever start a business and make absolutely no fucking money, start Like a Tourist. Okay. But if you want to start Like a Tourist and make no money, but have the best time of your life and feel like you're creating immense value, that's the business. You start a YouTube channel, which is really hard. And then you go on all these trips, which are self-funded.
Yeah.
And you document the journey because you know that once people see something visually, it changes them. So Jocelyn, I think what happened to you and many other people, because my Twitter trip landed up getting a few million impressions. It was insane.
Right.
Was that I stopped in every place. Luckily, I have the drone, so you can capture things from a different perspective too. And I just showcased with a bit of storytelling each place and why I liked it. And people really got onto this. And it's not that people don't know these things. It's that they need to be reminded. And so I think that's what the job of Twitter was. By the way, I'm going on another road trip. I just immediately was like, I'm doing it again. Monday morning,
where are you headed this
Mpumalanga,
time?
Limpopo.
Okay, well,
flattening that spot.
Okay, so get ready for some of those shitty towns I was
Yes,
talking about.
yes.
And I'm not putting a dampener on you because I like what you said just now. It gives me hope. But there are little places that used to be actual towns that people used to want to live in. And you know, there was some people who put flowers outside their houses and stuff. And now it's you know, when like the homeless people are living right outside the police station.
Yes. No, it is. But I'll tell you, like a place like Machuba's Club. Have you ever been there, Gareth?
No, but I've heard it is.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
So a lot of people.
That's like watching Casablanca. I've got to get to it eventually.
A lot of people give me a hard time because they're like, you don't show the shitty parts. I'm like, you damn right I don't. That is terrible marketing. That's not the gears we're trying to build up.
Yeah, please. I mean, we don't have to bring reality into all of this. And when people are looking for travel and tourism inspiration, they're not looking for the sad sob stories of like the town that God forgot.
Yes.
You know? Don't go there.
But
Just show
places
us the
like a
good shit.
Machuba's Club.
Yes.
But like I'm going there, we're there Monday and Tuesday, and I'm going to document the living bejesus out of that place.
That sounds amazing.
And so I would just love anybody who's here, go to the Like It, because I'm trying to do it literally just to get people to act like tourists locally.
Yeah.
People have got this warped thing. They think of travel.
Where do you still want to go?
Internationally or locally?
Both.
No, look, internationally, there's an endless list. Locally, what I'm gonna do in the next 6 weeks is I'm gonna do that trip back to Cape Town, but I'm gonna take a month to get there and back, which means I can stop in all these small towns, the ones I like, and I can just take that road that I'm like, oh, I didn't see that before. Let's see what, you know, how often I'm driving back and I'm like,
I've never done anything. I'm so destination focused.
There's a place for destination focus, but when you do it, it's just remarkable. So I want to take that trip that you go like, look, it says RO1 down to, and that looks interesting.
Yeah.
And I want to go spend 3 hours there and capture it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that over 4 weeks. And I want to eventually have captured every part of South Africa, every little town, for the good and for the bad.
Sounds amazing. All right, so here we go. Azaleas has come to the Kalahari. That sounds amazing. Sanela says, isn't Machuba's Kloof where Tito Mboweni lives and sodomizes chickens with lemons?
It's exactly
That's
where
exactly
it is.
right, yes. Limpopo is beautiful, says Sianda. So you know what? You probably find some absolute pearlers.
Some aspects of both Mpumalanga and Limpopo have improved dramatically. It's unreal. I know from previous trips.
Mandy says, we recently did a road trip to the Eastern Cape and I absolutely loved it. Cheap and beautiful. Stutterheim, Morgans Bay, Transkei, Allawal North.
Oh, Coffee
Bay,
they special.
Yeah, Coffee Bay.
All right, good.
And so the thing, if I could just plug the other way, is that what I would love people to do is when they follow these channels, you see, nothing stops you from documenting your trip. Now, you're not doing it to actually show off. I think what happens is we create a bit of chaos when all of us take these road trips, whatever, and you show people, you show an audience what you're seeing.
Yes.
Right? Imagine a few hundred people just decided that whenever they go on their next trip, they're going to document it for other people to show them what it's like. So you're not going like, look how amazing I am. I'm on the way to Cape Town. You're saying, hey,
Look.
I'm in Machuba's Cliff. Guys, did you realize how beautiful it looks? Check this place. And you're supporting small businesses because you go to that one little brewery that's amazing. You post about it. You're like, I just have to say that these guys were outstanding. Now I'm doing it on my own, in inverted commas, but my goal is to use the content to inspire other people to start documenting their road trips, their trips. I think that's how you create a bit of a groundswell. I don't think that's how you save a country, but I can't do everything. Neither can you. That's my area of focus of control.
We must all do what we can.
That's what I'm focusing on.
So you say what? It's like a tourist, right?
Like a tourist. We're on YouTube. We spend far too much money on those videos. Yeah. The quality is really excellent, I have to say. Like we spend an enormous amount of time, effort, and money. So YouTube. And then we're on all the social channels. But the thing I've been focusing on lately is Twitter because it...
I have a question about that. But like, I just want to say, so it's not short-lived, ladies and gentlemen. It's like a tourist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't go short-lived.
By the way, I'm pro any entity that promotes South Africa.
Who's our Minister of Tourism? Is Patricia de Lille.
Patricia de Lille,
yes.
currently.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
She stepped in March.
Yeah, after Sisulu, yeah, right?
Oh, I mean, after the worst, horrible, rotten human being on the planet was there. So anything from Lindiwe Sisulu is better. Patricia's not a bad human being.
No, I've met her before. She's a great human being, but she's really thrown her soul and her credibility away by working with
the ANC
government.
Yeah.
But you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, right?
I know. We have to make space for everybody. So I'll be willing to forgive her and let her explain herself anytime.
Well, my question is, you're right. So Twitter, or X, as we are calling it right now,
yes.
Like new kids on the block. But how do you balance this happiness, this positivity with all the negative feedback of Twitter? Because Gareth, who
cares?
Yeah,
he doesn't care.
I've developed, like I said, you can call my mother a whore. You can, it doesn't matter what you say to me because you are fucking nothing in my life. You're a random on the internet that's decided to pick a fight with a guy who's actually doing something. That tells you the state of your life. You don't have any rent in my head because I couldn't give a fuck about you. I'm too busy traveling and living my fucking life. So when people are like, yeah, this, I'm like, I just sometimes antagonize back because it is the most joy ever. And then I just stop. Then I'm like, okay, enough. But if you do get me riled up, you'll know, but you don't.
Okay. All right. So here's an interesting question for both of you, because this is something I was talking to someone about just the other day. So now we say X instead of Twitter. Yeah. It took like a heartbeat, right?
Yeah. X.
You have all this brand equity.
Yeah.
You know, Twitter we were talking about tweeting. It became the way we spoke about.
It was in the dictionary.
Yes. And it had the logo, the little blue bird. Everyone knows. People are talking about blue ticks. Like, there's so much about this. If you developed this as a brand strategy, you'd be winning awards everywhere. And what did Elon Musk do? He takes all of that brand equity, flushes it down the toilet just to prove a point about marketing, which I'd like to hear your comments on. And then also we take this lesson we've learned from Threads, okay, which was Zuckerberg's experiment in, I don't know what he wanted to achieve there, like make a Twitter of his own.
That was just a shot.
But he had at his disposal all of the marketing, right? I mean, there's probably not a person who didn't have some digital device somewhere that he couldn't reach, Mark Zuckerberg. And yet Threads is an abject disaster, right?
Yeah.
Despite all the marketing force and willpower in the world. What does that tell us about marketing on both fronts?
So I think that you can do what you like to the market, but if the market rejects something, so people are trying their best to call it X, but they're going to keep referring to it as Twitter.
Yeah,
because it's hard. The word, if they called it something else other than X, you could maybe get your head around it. Like the way Facebook said they're calling the parent company Meta. But X, the single letter, becomes quite difficult to reference. So I think people are going to just keep referring to it. I think you have to take all of these people like Elon Musk. I'm actually a fan, but I'm not a fan of everything he does. So I think he, just from my personal perspective on the platform, he's done wonders for the platform. By the data, by the reach, there's lots of good things happening. But he hasn't done everything, right? And I think that is a classic
But purely
point.
from a marketing point of view, X, he's really just messing with everybody.
Yeah, he's almost trolling.
He's saying like, you see all this, there's an industry of marketing There are people who call themselves marketing geniuses and specialists and gurus. Clearly don't know what the hell they're doing. He's just changed it to X to spite them.
He's had this obsession with the letter for the longest time.
I hear about this, but essentially what you're saying, though, is that marketing does count in that respect, because people are still going to call it Twitter, and that will linger. But what about the other example with Threads? I mean, I haven't.
Well, Threads is a rubbish product.
It's
terrible,
right?
And then the worst thing that happened to them was that they used Instagram to push people to Threads.
Yeah.
And so everybody went to go try it out, and they were celebrating. Look at the numbers we've achieved.
And now nobody goes
there. And
it's
no
like
one goes there because it's a shit experience. And do you remember Google had its own social network for a while?
Yep.
Right? And it failed. And it's like they had all the money, all the love. But what they didn't have was my photos on Facebook since 2006. And so it was very hard to change the human behavior aspect. So I think marketing, you can try and market all you want, but to go against the human behavior, Facebook had all your pictures, all your history. So by the time Google was trying to push its social network and a similar version of it, they could come up with better features, but people are like, I'm already entrenched here. People are entrenched in Twitter.
Sunken costs.
I don't know why. I know why, but Instagram and them, they didn't stand a chance with Threads. I went and looked at it for 2 days, and I was like, and on top of it, it's a rubbish product, and you can't put lipstick on a pig. And that's what Threads tried to do.
You agree with this?
No, I agree with this, because especially now, so what I'm currently hating on my Instagram, because after it updated, I get Threads on my Instagram. I'm like, I don't have this thing. Stop trying to push me this rubbish product. But yeah. But
can I give you a very quick state of where social media is at?
Right.
Okay. YouTube S tier. It still works predominantly because creators are incentivized to create the content. There's some unintended consequences there, but it still produces great content. Amazing. Facebook has the ability to be viral, but Facebook keeps limiting organic reach in a big way. It's starting to push toward the older market. There's still huge value in Facebook, but they are assholes when you want to share any form of external content. So you and I have 500,000 people on Facebook. The second I share a YouTube link, cuts it. So they're killing it from a business. You must pay. Instagram has no clue what it is. Started photos, moved toward video a little, does reels, but now can't do reels, isn't committing to it, doesn't have the viral nature like TikTok. Instagram is literally schizophrenic, has no clue what it is. And it's suffering as a result. TikTok, blowing up because it knows what it is. We do reels. We don't do anything else. We do it well.
Organ of the Chinese government for exploiting information about stupid Western world. You stupid Westerners. We got your children watching dance videos.
Why our children play piano?
Well, our children are learning about astrophysics. Yeah, good.
And then Twitter. Twitter has done a great job. Just look at the data. People think this whole paying 150 Rand thing is a bad idea. Watch everybody copy Elon. I'd rather pay to play. No. I'd rather pay to have my audience and not have my reach snuffled just because you don't like that specific post.
No, you just hit the nail on the head there, Mark. Threads, again, because it's on my Instagram feed. I think you can get paid to be verified on Instagram now. I don't know how much it
Threads.
is. Yeah, on
Instagram?
Threads,
and Threads, and Facebook.
And Threads, and Facebook. It's an entire thing. It's an entire metaverse.
What about Snapchat, man? You left them.
It's not even a real net. Not even getting a hard.
That's Snapchat.
No, I'm teasing.
How many apps do you have on your phone?
Gee, no, I use 10. I've got probably 100 on this phone. You guys?
No, I did a little screen time thing. No, I did a screen time thing on the show the other day. We looked at screen time. So mine.
Oh, you had like 3 hours or something like that. That's something really impressive.
I was right down to 3 hours. Yeah. This week, I'm back to like average about 5.5, 6 hours.
Well, like 3 hours was really good. I mean, you barely touched your phone except for like what, emails?
I try not to. I don't want to. It's horrible.
Daily average 7 hours, 15 minutes.
Ooh.
No, but I'm on it all the time. This is my life. This is my work.
So I have 2 now. So let me just pull up.
So what?
I would love to know in the comments. I would love to know what some people have got in terms of screen time.
So, okay, I spend most of my time on WhatsApp and then podcasts. Good. Then Instagram, then calendar. Yeah.
Calendar.
Calendar. I have to listen.
Like you're the calendar app.
I used to have a diary that I would write shit in on paper. Okay. And I did that for years, even well into the digital era. I liked having paper. I liked having a a plan. I still do my lists of shit I have to do every day on paper. Do you do that?
No, everything for me is done digitally.
Thank you.
Because it carries across multiple devices between my laptop and my phone. I think we do have to self-regulate with all the technology. There's no question about
It's
it.
too much.
But again, it's both at the same time. It's unbelievably productive, and it can consume you. And so you need to self-regulate. If you wait to be, these manufacturers are literally trying to get every waking second of your eyeballs on it. So you got to understand they designed that way, and they're trying to capture your physiology to be there. Yeah. Facebook wants to, if they can double your screen time from 2 hours to 4 hours, they've just doubled their monetization.
Yeah, exactly.
So they'll do anything to get you to see more content. So as soon as people realize this, they have to understand that the self-regulation has to come from within. You cannot wait.
So what's a healthy relationship with this stuff?
I don't think it's so much about how much time you spend. It's simply why you do it. So I see these as productivity tools. I try not to use it so early in the morning or late at night. But if I'm scrolling endlessly on Instagram and then looking at other people thinking that my life is shit, this is not a good thing.
That's a problem.
Okay. But if I'm using podcasts for 2 hours a day and listening to that is a great thing.
Yeah.
I think it's all relative. I just think that most people just need to take the time to sit down and ask themselves hard questions like, why am I actually using that app? Is it serving me? Am I actually getting value out of it? And being honest, because we'll tell ourselves, I'm just a little bit bored. So no, you're a little bit depressed and you keep looking through your Instagram and then telling yourself how shit your life is and how great everybody else is.
Yeah. Well, listen, that's a big problem, especially for kids and teenagers.
Bad.
Yeah, it's not nice.
Okay, Alden, there's a few here. 6 hours screen time, 5 hours. No one's going to beat me on this, I'm afraid. I don't know if that's a good thing.
I wonder, but also people won't admit if they're over 7 or 8 hours, they won't say so.
Yes.
They're going to be embarrassed to say so. Because if you think about it, 8 hours, you only have, if you're sleeping enough and all the rest of it, you probably got 12 to 15 hours awake time on a day.
Yeah.
I reckon 8 out of 15 is that's more than half.
Yeah.
Watching your screen. More than half of your day, if you're at 8 hours, is watching that screen. You're not really alive in the world. If there comes a time where we are able to upload our consciousness to the, to the machines, if that is a possibility one day, then it would make sense for us to spend as much time in the physical world now as possible, because maybe you could have an eternity in the digital world where you could live as part of the binary code. But I don't get how people could want to spend, and this is the way everybody communicates. Yeah. It's the way they talk to their family, their friends. It's where they share ideas, and all of that's good. But in excess, it's a horrible thing.
So I think what we do is
a very sad state of affairs.
It's the elastic band effect. Yeah. When you're 18 and you're allowed to drink legally, boy, you pull that elastic band back as far as it can go.
Okay.
And then you get to a certain point, you're like, oh, it's a bit anal. I'm going to slow it. Now, not everybody does, right? No. Some people turn out to be alcoholics. But on average, for the most part, the elastic band gets stretched and then pushed back. We do this all the time. Suddenly we're like, I don't want to be out every weekend. I actually wouldn't mind being home a bit. And so technology, exactly like you said, has come along. It's brand new.
Yeah.
You know, one of the first TV ads was Barbie reading out a radio ad on TV. They had no clue what to do with the medium. So it's so interesting why I'm mentioning this. Like, we don't know what to do with this thing yet. We're still working it out. Yeah. We're still working out social media. We're pulling that elastic band back. We're working out having a phone and all the things it can do. And then I think the elastic band is going to come. Exactly what happens. You're going to, as Gareth, go, is this serving me?
Yeah.
I don't think this is good for me to be spending all this time. Will there be some extremists on the end who just sit on it 24/7? Sure. Will society pull back and go, you know, it's really great getting into a car, driving, smelling flowers in person.
But again, boundaries. And this comes down to human interactions, not just interactions with technology. I mean, humans have to, if you've got healthy boundaries with things, then everything will be fine. Like
exactly.
You don't respond to work emails after 8 o'clock at night. You just don't do it because you're inviting a world of pain into your universe.
True story.
You don't need to be responding to everybody's message, especially while you're asleep at night. Switch off all those notifications from X to Y. No one needs you that badly. You're not the Pope in Rome.
like
No. We need to definitely wait. Hang on, he's president of the United States. I mean, the actual president of the United States is sleeping most of the time. So I don't think we need to worry about being available all the time. It's an ugly thing when you see someone. You know what I hate, and it happens more and more. And this has nothing to do with age or with intelligence or anything else. Is these people who are talking to you. And while they're talking to you, they reach for their phone and they start reading the phone. Like,
oh my God, I'll murder you.
Happens all the time now. And I find you talk about rude. Like, I don't mind if you walk past me and you don't greet me. If we don't have any business with each other. We're sitting, I'm sitting somewhere and you see me and just wave or whatever. Or you don't. That's fine. But if we're actually engaged in a conversation.
Have you seen these people at restaurants? That's just like sit there, like the food comes and then like they snap it, or whatever.
Like, why are you two even at dinner? You could have just stayed at home.
I don't understand.
But don't you see society's kind of exactly the chat we're having? Society's pushing back on those people. That's why you said some people will be embarrassed. I think more and more people are starting to realize, I'm not saying people don't do it. I'm saying people are starting to go, hey, put your damn phone down and talk to each other.
Exactly.
That tone is starting to come out more and more.
Jules says, I spend average 9.5 hours. Shit, I'm changing my life starting now.
Yo, Jules. No, that is smashing it. That is unreal.
Yeah. I have one rule, Gareth. Like, so when my phone rings, I'm not a slave to my phone. I don't have to. There is not, if you call me, I am not running to my phone. I've seen these people that run to their phones. Like, nah, can't see me.
Let's pump that one up. Phone calls are interruptions.
Yeah, like it can't be me. Like,
no.
Do you also have this thing, you two, of not answering phone calls at all? Because apparently that's a thing that people do. I saw suddenly I have so many minutes of unused call time because I don't ever phone people anymore.
No, the new rule is, can you text me before you call me? Like, just drop me a
that
text.
That is not a very efficient use of time either. Like, now I must message you before. Is it convenient to call now?
Or like, you see now, then you realize that's not an efficient use of time. Then you, instead of sending the text, you just send me what you were going to say.
Yeah, well, that I'm always up for.
If you called that answer, there's no question. But if I'm busy with something, so like often at work, I'm busy writing, I'm in a flow, and then this phone call comes in, and I'm like, but if I take this call and the next and the next, so now I'm doing this thing, and then I'll answer calls when I'm done.
Yep.
But I'm not afraid to answer a phone call. I think people have taken that a bit too.
Okay, you did mention sleep earlier. So how are you managing your sleep? Because that's a big thing that comes up often on this show.
Yes.
Do you have a certain number of hours you have to have in a night? Do you take naps during the day? Are you very rule bound about like not having lights on after a certain time, or are you a little bit more?
Okay. So I think everybody has to figure out their own path. First,
thanks for that. We needed your permission.
Yeah, my circadian, well, why I say this is like a circadian rhythm.
Okay.
Mine works like this. If I go to bed at 9 or I go to bed at midnight, I'm going to wake up at 6. So I know I'm messing with my sleep as soon as I start going to bed later. So I have to prep my if I want to get decent sleep, I have to prep my day in such a way that I can kind of wind down by 8 and maybe like be in bed 9:30, and then it's going to take me a little while to sleep, and then I'm done. And then I'll get a good night's sleep. Little things like temperature of the room, how much water I've drank, because now I'm 39.
This is important.
And I've developed the bladder of a hamster. So if I drink too much water late at night, like, don't worry, guys. You've got so much to look forward to just before you turn 40. All of these little things, temperature of the room, how much water you drink, what you ate, when you ate. So I try my best to keep those things within decent bounds and have a good night of rest. I don't lose my marbles if I get it wrong.
Right.
But I know that doing it more than 2 days in a row where I get it wrong, like badly wrong, I'm going to pay for that. So if I do those things right, I almost never need I just don't need a nap. In fact, I couldn't nap if I tried. If I do those things right, plus I exercise in the morning and I just eat decently for the most part.
I don't know, dude.
My sleep is really good.
Every now and then I like a nap. And I do think it's a valuable thing. Like when your body says to you, right, now you need to just crash for half an hour.
If my body tells me to, I work for myself. I answer to no one in that regard. If I need to take a nap, I'll take it. I absolutely will.
You don't feel guilt over that.
No,
I feel nothing.
Nothing.
And I will switch my phone off, not even silent. Off.
Well played.
Have a sleep.
I'm curious. Your sleep? I'd love to just know.
No, my sleep's a disaster. Disaster.
How much this? What? Because what's your? This is what I was wondering about circadian rhythm. Is that
there's no rhythm.
for me to wake up?
I've got less rhythm than a white guy trying to dance to Michael Jackson song.
I had to be up at I was up at 4:30 this morning to make sure I wasn't. I didn't want to be in it. So I could, if I had to do that every morning, I would be a mess.
It's don't worry about it. It's not your problem.
Should we hug each other after?
No, it's fine. I have my natural rhythm, my natural inclination has completely been subsumed by being here in the mornings. I'm actually a nighttime person. I like being up late. That's where I think. That's where I write. That's where I read. That's where I learn. I'm not one of these people who likes waking up early. I don't enjoy it, but I've been doing it so long now, I don't know how else to do things.
So can you sleep late on when you don't have to wake up?
Saturday and Sunday. And don't interrupt me then. It's going to make me very unhappy. Like I love nothing. And I don't mean sleeping late, like getting out of bed at lunchtime. I mean like 9, 10 at a push 10, because it's my day. I don't need to go to church or go and play sport or any of that shit. I like to lie in bed on a Saturday or Sunday morning.
Go to church, guy.
Yeah, man. Could you tell? Could you tell? No, I think everybody has to figure out their own rhythm, but I don't feel like I'm hard done by or unhealthy.
No,
it's fine. It works for me. I'm functioning.
It's just worth doing a bit of investigation. I'm saying this to the people watching and listening.
No,
into your own sleep for
that's
sure.
Why
like,
I asked you.
So understanding what does that circadian rhythm look like? Because to your point, like it's much better for me to go to bed early. But for some people, I know lots of people like what you're saying, where they thrive at night. So you just
what do you do?
No, me. I sleep early, and I know if I get in at least 4 hours, I'm functional.
4
hours.
If
I get at least 4 hours.
No, bro.
Yesterday, I slept at 7, and I woke up. I'm like, oh, it's still today.
How old are you?
I'm 27.
Turning
27.
I know a woman.
Sure.
I know a woman who sleeps for 10 hours a day.
Sure.
First of all, if I try that, I wake up
more tired or something.
And then I can't get back to sleep. So then it's 3 a.m. and I'm sitting there going, with my eyeballs getting more and more bloodshot as the day. She sleeps. I don't know how she gets it right. She's not a whack job or a nutcase she doesn't need like medication. 10 hours a night. She swears by.
Wow.
Yeah?
Study that bitch.
I think we should put her on like electrodes and sensors. See what she's up to. See what's going on while she's sleeping.
Yeah, but you're losing it. Oh, that's like almost.
Can I give you a little nod quick? I think you've done a great job, eh?
Of what?
Now this is where people are going
to.
I'll tell you now.
Azalea says breathing exercises seem to help me fall asleep.
Okay. Thank you. Those have their place.
Yeah.
I think you've done a great job. I remember when you decided to go and start Cliff Central to begin with, and everybody thought you were nuts. I'll never forget it. It was just before I started Suits and Sneakers, and you've stuck at it, and you've made it work, and you were so ahead of the curve. People were like, podcasts, question mark. And I just think like it was such a crazy move to make at the time. At least that's what a lot of people would have thought. And I think you're a happier human being, but I love watching you have a go at this. I love watching you bring people with you. Like, dude, meeting you today is super cool.
Thank you.
I love that you're investing in, investing in young talent. I think that's super cool. The dude who brought me here, what
Ryan.
a legend, Ryan. What a nice guy. He stole some of your coffee from your secret stash.
I know. No, he made you decent coffee.
He made me decent
He
coffee.
looks after
What
people.
a nice guy. Like, you've
Ryan's
got a
good.
great setup.
He walked all the way through the gardens to come and fetch you on the other end.
Yeah. This is great. And
it is fun.
the burning platform and these things. And I think, I can see
Thank you.
it's a little hard for you to take this, but
No.
I want you to take this.
I've learned how to do this. Thank you very much. That is very kind of you. I appreciate that enormously.
Because people are here.
As he sounds like a robot.
Yeah. The people on the other side who are listening to this, like, if you've ever run a business, you know how hard it is. And then to start something that people don't think will work or that is against the norm is even harder. And to have it running for 8 years? No?
Listen, let's look
That's epic.
No, thank you. It's fun, and we're not finished yet. So Max Sony says, guys and girls, I've got fantastic news. The ANC municipalities finally, after 20 years, replaced the globes in my street. 40 ANC. Come on, guys. They're trying.
Wow.
Votela ANC.
Yes,
You can
right.
actually tell when things start to work. You're like, how far are we away from elections?
South Africans, according to VB, get the least amount of sleep in the world. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds like it could be.
It sounds like it could, because we're early risers and like you
And-
get these taxis. I was like,
And we have to sleep with one eye open.
because Mark Sham from the south is gonna shank you.
Not just Mark Sham, not just
No,
Mark
you-
Sham from the south, but like everyone in this country might just
Or your
Pop
mayor,
out of
your
somewhere.
mayor
Yeah.
could pop out of.
your Yaupe mayor. Yeah, exactly. Jeez. Okay, VB says no. It's a recent study. Okay.
Okay, I would
I
love to VB, if you could send me like maybe on Twitter or something. Just
Yeah.
I would love to read the study.
And then
If you-
Sebastian says the best thing you can do is do transcendental meditation, my lifesaver. I know so many people who are doing this.
Yeah.
And they swear by it. Look, whatever you've got. Some people do the breathing exercises we heard about earlier. Some people do the transcendental meditation. Some people have what there's binaural. What was it? Binaural music or whatever that they
Yes.
listen to.
Like white noise machines and whatnot.
Yeah. Some people do the dacha drops.
Yeah,
CBD.
Not dacha.
Well, I don't know what the fuck it is.
CBD.
Yeah, CBD.
So all of these things, fine. Whatever you want to do it. If it works for you, that's great.
First time I heard of that transcendental meditation was from Stan Katz.
Mm.
He was very big on. He's like, I'm not trying to convince you, but this has done wonders in my life.
If I can give you one tip around, this is something we talk about in the happiness talk a lot, is that often people are trying to change a habit, when often what needs to happen is to change the story before the habit. So we've all got like a little story that we tell ourselves about everything in life. So for example, I struggled for a long time with my weight. The issue wasn't going to gym, because I would go to gym, get lean and healthy for a bit, then fall off the wagon. Then get lean and healthy. And then if you've ever struggled with your weight, you'll know how exhausting this roller coaster.
Have you been fat?
90 kilograms at 11.
You were 11 years old. You weighed 90 kilograms.
kilograms. Yeah, I
Sweet
took-
Jesus.
yeah,
You must
I
have been
took-
broader than you were tall.
It's horrible. And what it did was it set a whole bunch of terrible habits into my life. And
How
then
did you
from-
break that?
a girl who I like told me that she can't kiss me because I'm fat. So she broke that at 13. Best thing she ever did to me.
What a champion.
She-
What a lovely.
Where is this girl?
But
that is the kind of negative. I always people talk about
Negative reinforcement.
reinforcement being positive, and you have to positively. I don't believe that.
pain. bro.
Negative reinforcement is massively important. That girl hadn't told you that she thought you were too fat to kiss. That's very
Yes.
good. That is a good, honest thing. We need people like her in the world.
We do.
And if she changed your life, bless her.
I talk about it to this day. I've still got her on Facebook. I'm like, thank you. You changed my life. But the problem
She
was
still won't kiss you.
for the next 20 years, this was weight, up, down,
Really?
up, down, up, down. And then I had to come to terms with a few things about 5 years ago. I was like, you actually don't like doing hard things. You've got this problem where sometimes when you don't feel like going to gym, you just don't go. But you can't wait to feel good to do hard things.
Mhm.
And there were these two frameworks that I started to adopt. They sound a bit cliche, but go with me. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. In other words, all you have to do, Mark, is even though you don't feel like going to gym, you just have to get your shoes on and get there. Because 5 minutes on the treadmill or whatever you use to warm up, and you're like happy to be there. So that's the fight you have to get through, not the whole session.
Yeah.
Second of all, there's a cost to everything in life. So you pay now or you pay later. It's just that usually later is more expensive. So what are the two costs that I have to choose from? Either I wake up, I don't feel like going to gym, but I go anyway, therefore I pay the price of discomfort. Or I don't go to gym because I don't feel like it. I do that enough days in a row. I look at myself as a fat fuck in the mirror. I don't like what I see. And I feel that I can't rely on myself to do hard things. I can't trust myself.
Yeah.
That price is far more expensive. And now that I've started banding these two costs together, you don't like to do hard things, but you've got to, because that price is more expensive than this. Changed my life.
Right.
5 years in a row. This doesn't sound like a big deal for a lot of you, but for me, where the weight was up, down constantly, 90 kilograms, no higher than 90 kilograms. And then for the last 18 months, 81 kilograms, doesn't matter December, doesn't matter anything.
Really?
It wasn't the habit. It wasn't go to gym more. It was that I got the shit between my ears right
Okay.
around I love this opportunity. but my kid's packed. I have to go to gym after this.
Yeah.
Because if I miss it, it's going to throw my day.
Yeah.
So people try to change the habit when actually you have to get down to the root cause of what's the story behind the habit. Because otherwise you go to gym for 3 months, fall off. Go to gym for, you have to fix the stuff before.
So why do you, Bakabantu, I saw you did this to these chairs yesterday. You put the armrests right up here.
Yeah.
Like, what are you, a thalidomide baby or something? why do you need the armrest so high up?
I don't know. It's just comfortable.
You did this to this chair yesterday because I did the show from home. I got here and it was like I felt like, what the hell's this? Like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Why do you do that?
I don't know. It's just It's just comfortable.
Well, you've made me sit upright.
You also, now he's done it to your chair as well.
Yeah, so I'm upright.
I didn't do it to his chair. He did it to himself.
Oh, no, I definitely walked in like this.
It's an armrest, not an arm raise. It's not a crutch. I don't even think you should be using these.
All is gymming, bro.
But like, why are you, why, I noticed this about you and it's very bizarre. Very odd. All right.
See, that made me self-conscious.
All right, that's all we got time for. I'm done with you two. Mark Sham, thanks for coming in. Nice to see you, dude.
Guys, thank you so much for
Really
this. This has
fun.
been...
We bounced all over the place, but it was lovely.
What a jewel. Thank you. And thank you to the guys who are listening and for the comments. Thank you.
Sure. And we will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Cheers, everybody. Bye.